I was gonna get the timer for public comment, 3 minutes. I go get a timer, okay? Thank you. Oh my.
I think we're ready.
Yep. I'm ready.
Okay,
Got my timer, got my notes, everything.
it's 5:33, so we'll get started. I'd like to call the special meeting for March 11th of 2021 for the Oceano Advisory Council to order. First thing on my agenda here is the roll call. So I'll start. Aline Villa, myself, Chair and Secretary, present. Charles Varney,
Present.
Lucia Castellanovo,
Present.
April Dury.
Present.
So that's about it. Next on our agenda, Mary Lucy, as most of you saw on the email, has decided to resign. Her family, her wife is pending surgery, so she decided to take some time off and will be joining us in meetings as soon as she can. So I did send an email thanking her for her service and wishing her well.
And thank you
From all of us.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Next on our agenda is the flag salute. So I'll go ahead and start the flag salute. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all. And next I have public comment, but I wanted to, for items not on the agenda. Is there anyone with public comment for items not on the agenda? I don't think so because it's a special meeting, but go ahead.
Yeah, I just wanted to, I thought it was a timely opportunity to announce that we are looking for new members of the Oceano Advisory Council. And if you are interested and you live in Oceano, or you live in the service district of the Oceano Community Services District, that's kind of the boundaries. Please contact the chair, Aline Villa, or myself, Charles Zavarny, and we can give you more information. And we would like to talk to you about it. So thank you.
Yes, we are in dire need of members. We are lost Mary Lucy now, so we would much appreciate it. And like Charles said, in the district, including Halcyon and other not so populated areas that are in the district of Oceano can apply. Just send a letter of interest and we will greatly consider your appointment as council member. Public comment for items not on the agenda. Do we have anyone here for public comment for items not on the agenda? Doesn't look like we being none. We will next address new business. Now, should we do public comment for the item on the agenda before or after? What does everybody else?
Well, if we had somebody doing a presentation, can maybe somebody give a short overview of what we are doing, just a few minutes of what the intention, what, and then open public comment?
I think that's fair.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, then I'll volunteer, just a couple of minutes, if it's okay with you. Let everybody know why we're here, right?
Right.
Yeah.
I would be happy to give a quick overview, and then I would invite other council members to add on.
Then you
Anything
can,
I leave out?
go ahead.
We have, our council made lengthy comment to the Coastal Commission and to the state parks about, can't remember if it was maybe 3 weeks ago or so, in a letter that was strongly emphasized issues of environmental justice, and how that has, those issues have impacted the community of Oceano, and encouraging the commission and state parks to take action to remediate that, which would basically, our position was that we want our beach back. We want a vehicle-free beach so that we can move forward in the cultural and economic development of our community. Subsequent to that, we were at our last meeting discussed issues related to the closing of Pier Avenue as proposed in the staff report of the Coastal Commission. The immediate closure of Pier Avenue, I mean, that could theoretically take place on March 19th. And the different kind of impacts that could have, especially in regard to if then the only entrance is Grand Avenue, it would be even a more increased level and number and intensity of vehicle traffic traveling down the beach. And so part of what the meeting is about today is to discuss those aspects of, just the closing of Pier Avenue and where do we stand on that, to give our input to the Coastal Commission. And then secondly, we became aware of a very extensive and detailed legal document from the Mills College of Law at Stanford University that was written on behalf of the Dunes Alliance. The Oceano Advisory Council is not a member of any other alliances. We represent the citizens of the unincorporated area of Oceano. But we became aware of this legal document that details in the most extensive manner any of us have ever seen the reasons why the SVRA should be closed down, at least, and the option of a moratorium to close it down until the large number of environmental issues, including endangered species, habitat destruction, air quality, environmental justice issues are resolved. And so we're here today to discuss whether we want to support that document to the Coastal Commission as something that we believe is very relevant, and that they should take action on. And I guess the one other thing I would add is that there is, in many people's minds, serious reservations about the willingness and commitment of state parks to follow through on really anything that the Coastal Commission, demands or proposes. And at least the history of state parks has not been very good that way. So this is a time where a lot of people have lost patience in terms of also the Coastal Commission. And so we're here to discuss how we want to provide our input to them. And of course, we need to have a public meeting in order to discuss that and to move forward if that's the will of a council. And we're here to hear from the public about that as well. Now, that's what I have to share. It looks like Lucia has.
Oh, it's,
Sorry.
go ahead, Lucia, do you have a presentation or
No.
summary?
No, I wanna add something to what Charles said. I'm sorry, but I did not understand that we're gonna discuss the Stafford document at all. I didn't think we were here to support the Stafford document.
Mhm.
That's what Charles said. I
Yes.
thought we were here to discuss the Coastal Commission's recommendations and to either show support or not, and to express some recommendation of our own, or to express some concerns. Am I correct?
Okay,
No.
Lucia, we're here to discuss it all and review and discussion on the upcoming Coastal Commission. So this is letter that came up, and it brought up some interesting points that
Right.
we, hadn't thought of or hadn't seen in that much of a legal argument detail. So we can also talk about that. And of course, we're gonna discuss our position. I think what Charles said there, the fact that, the controversial issue is the street, Pier Avenue. Some of us want it closed. Some of us are not unsure on the sidelines on that. And some of us are against it completely.
Right.
And then there's the other controversial issue, the 5-year. Do we want 5-year? Do we want 2? Or do we want 1?
Right.
That's another. So we need to, and then there was a fact that also in the report, in the staff report, and they stated there that we, as the Oceano Advisory Council, and I remember we back and forth with you on emails on that, they were under the assumption that we are in agreement with the 5 years transition plan. We never met with them or sent them anything formally. So we need to make that clear where we stand as a council and representing our community.
I agree. I just wanted to give a little summary of the recommendations so the people knew what we're talking about. I have them here in front of me, if it's okay with you.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay. Number 1, beginning March 19th, beginning of January, from March 19th to January 1st to 26th, which we will be phased off, so that that by January the 26th, OHV shall be prohibited. 5 years transition to get rid of OHV on beach and dunes, because right now OHV can also be on the beach in front of the SVRA and in front of La Grande Tract. Okay, so 5 years to transition. Now, it doesn't say anything on how that's going to happen. It just says state parks may reduce the area on which the OHV go little by little, but it just says it's a conditional. State parks may reduce, which is the only indication on how this 5 years transition is going to happen. We only know that by 5 years, no more OHV. Okay, number B, street legal vehicles. Okay, by January 26th, same date, in 5 years, no street legal vehicles south of Pier Avenue. And again, not indication on how that transition is going to happen, not intermediate deadlines. So in 5 years, no street vehicles south of Pier Avenue and no OHV anywhere. Okay, C, camping. By at the end of the 5 years, there will be only 500 camping spots allowed, which will be all north of Pier Avenue. That will, at the beginning, they will be divided. Some will be south of Pier Avenue, where they are now, and some will be north of Pier Avenue. And within the 5 years, we don't know how, they're going to migrate north. And at the end of the 5 years, we're only going to have 500 camping spots between Pier and Grand. Okay, all right. And then Pier entrance, Pier Avenue shall be closed by July 1st, 21. By July 1st, 21. So Grand Avenue will be the only entrance. Okay, so basically there will be, here is the time period. Between 21 and 26, there will be maximum 1,000 street vehicles allowed, and a maximum 500 campsites allowed, and a maximum of 1,000 OHVs allowed. That's between 21 and 26, okay? That's during for 5 years, we will still have, so 1,500 cars on our beach, plus 1,000 OHVs. Now, from 26, thereafter, there will be only 5 street legal vehicles and 500 campsites, all of them between Pier and Grand. That's absurd. 500 street vehicles and 500 campsites. Oh wait, but then it says that each street vehicle that stays overnight counts as a campsite. Okay, so it's really a maximum of 500 vehicles between Pier and Grand. Okay, and that's it. Those are the biggies. And then in the meantime, of course, all the recommendations that were done in 2019, the famous 15 recommendation, they will be in force during the 5 years. No night driving, no creek crossing whenever it flows, doesn't matter what depth. Like right now, it's flowing, but it's being crossed the big time. But during those 5 years, some limitations will occur. No special events, no riding at night, no crossing the creek. Okay, that's to let everybody know what the basic are. I think now we should allow public comment.
Thank you, Lucia. That's helpful for those that have not read it or didn't have time to thoroughly read it.
Yes.
Does anybody else have like a summary or presentation? Mary?
I just wanted to say, like, listening to the Grover Beach City Council meeting the other night, and I waited until the bitter end while they were putting their letter together. And, you know, they had those same kinds of questions about how can you have 500 people camping on the beach? And so I've got to think it's behind all of that. They can't have that many people on the beach. And then when there's high tide, they have no place to go and only one way to, I mean, it's just, that kind of thing is kind of ridiculous. I want to encourage the Coastal Commission all I possibly could to do this and get her done. But some of the stuff, maybe they didn't look at it very carefully. That's
okay. Thank you, Mary. Does anybody else have like a summary or a presentation? If not, we'll go to public comment.
Excuse me, I just want to add that the deadline for comment is tomorrow at 5 o'clock. So this is it. This is our only opportunity to get something, take some action, write a letter and send it in tomorrow before 5. So
yes,
let's keep on track. And
the deadline is tomorrow for written public comment.
Yes, which will be in the addendum in the record. And I think it's very important that we are.
Okay. Can we have, does anybody else have a presentation? I don't think so. Can we go now to public comment?
So ask people to raise their hands.
Can anybody hear me?
Yes.
Okay, well, I don't have a presentation. So is this open for public public comment.
This is public comment.
Okay, well,
Excuse me, Chair, how many minutes do we allow for public comment?
Three.
Okay, then I'm gonna start my timer.
oh gee whiz.
Go ahead.
I guess I better not waste my time. My name's Steve Dayton and I own Steve's ATV Rentals in Oceano. So I guess I got a lot of public comments here, but I'll start with the first one is I own a commercial property on Pier Avenue. And so this idea of closing off Pier Avenue is just frightening and absurd to me, because if they close it to traffic, I'll have nobody that can even walk to my business. And frankly, I paid pretty good money for my store on Pier Avenue. And now somebody's proposing that they're just going to put a gate across and make it walk-in traffic. The other part of this is I really don't see how they can do that without thinking about doing a traffic study first. The idea that you're going to divert about 65% of all the traffic and add it to the Grand Avenue entrance is going to create massive traffic problems on Highway 1 in Pismo, 4th Street between the interstate and onto Grand Avenue. Even the businesses up and down Grand Avenue are going to be adversely affected because of the gridlock of this traffic jam that is going to get created at the corner of Grand and Highway 1. It will lock everything up. Finally, well, not finally, I guess another part that I'd like to bring up is the idea that this entrance has disparaged a lot of people in Oceano. And I guess what I'd like to say is, if you look at the citizens and the folks that live in Oceano, why would you think that somebody who works in agriculture or the trades or any other living doesn't like to come to the beach and ride or rent ATVs? And the fact is that lots of these people come and they rent from 4 of us who actually make our homes in Oceano. Myself, I employ over 50 people that are from Oceano. Between all 4 of us rental companies, there's roughly 250 people that make their living renting ATVs out on the beach. So, you're cutting quite an industry if you decide that you're going to support shutting down all the OHVs and shutting down the OHV rental industry. I guess to get to my third point, my property values, all I've invested, I have 3 pieces of property that I paid good money for in Oceano. I've lived here since 2001. And so it kind of hurts that a few vocal people, don't give a darn about my living or my retirement or, my kids go to
3 minutes
school.
are over. 3 minutes are over.
Thank
Well-
you. Thank you so much.
Basically, I guess I would like to see that you also have other, ideas other than just to say, oh, let's close the beach. Yeah, I know.
You're welcome to stay for the meeting to listen to our
Thank you
discussion
for-
and other ideas.
will.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thanks,
for your
Aline.
comments.
Mhm.
Thank you, Steve.
Do we have anybody else here for public comment?
I would like to make a public comment.
Can't hear.
Patty?
Hi, my name is Patricia Rohr, and I live here in,
Could you speak a
Aurora
little
Grande.
louder?
my name is Patricia Rohr, and I live in Aurora Grande.
Mhm.
And can you see me? I don't know.
Yes.
You're fine.
Okay, all right. Okay. And I like to drive on the beach, and I like to do ATV. And anytime I have a guest that comes here, I go to the Steve's ATVs and rent an ATV for the kids and grandkids, everybody. My nieces and nephews, because I don't have any kids of my own. But my nieces and nephews, they just love to come here and get on those ATVs. And I mean, it's just, one of them said, this is the most fun I've had in my whole entire life. And he was like, he was just so ecstatic. So, I mean, to close the beach from people by closing up that ATV place there, right there on Pier Avenue, is a huge disappointment because I just like to go there and look at the beach and just go down there and see the beach. And it needs 2 entrances for safety reasons. I mean, I've seen the Coast Guard fly over my house, going down there to rescue people who have drowned or things like that. But we need 2 entrances for safety reasons, definitely, because you can't just have that one entrance to the beach down there. That's not going to work. You need to have an emergency escape between the 2 entrances. So I would definitely ask that the Coastal Commission do not close that entrance to the beach for many, many reasons, including safety reasons and the fact that it will put those businesses right there out of business. And that's going to be, devastating to them and to the community as well, because that's going to raise the price of ATV rentals, further inland. And if he has to move it, it's going to be bad for other people, that want to rent an ATV and have some fun with the kids and stuff. And most of our community, we have kids, we have military families here, and they have kids, and they like to go on the dunes and the beaches and stuff like that. So
Very nice, Patty.
I would ask that you do that, not close that entrance.
Thank
You
you.
know.
Thank you for your comments.
Thank you, Patty.
Thank you.
Patty,
I see
Yes.
somebody's raising a hand. Somebody has an.
I can't hear you too good. There's something wrong.
Jocelyn.
Somebody has a
I'm
hand
sorry.
up.
Thank you, Patty.
Okay.
Do we have anybody else for public comment? I know that there's Jeff Edwards was here.
What?
I'm
Okay.
sure Adam wants to talk.
Right now, this is it.
Did you instruct them on how they raise their hand in Zoom with *9?
Maybe they don't want to
Are
talk.
they on the phone? Jeff Edwards is
Yes.
like very aware. Are you there?
Can you hear
Jeff?
me, Madam Chair?
Yes,
Yes.
I'm available if you're prepared to take my testimony.
go ahead.
Thank you. Thank you. Good evening. My name is Jeff Edwards, and I wanted to clarify what exactly is going before the Coastal Commission next Thursday. And and you may know this already, but it's not the Public Works Plan. It's the Coastal Development Permit that was approved in 1982. And as you may also know, that 1982 permit considered Pier Avenue as a temporary access. Unfortunately, through any number of series of inaction, it's not happened. And so what now you have before you a Coastal Commission staff report that really is a hodgepodge of a number of things, including the beach camping between Pier and Grand, which I think is really a non-starter for Oceano. Success, in my view, success for Oceano means there will be no vehicles north of Arroyo Grande Creek. And if I may repeat, no vehicles, any sticker color, red, green, blue, or otherwise, no vehicles north of Arroyo Grande Creek. Okay, so in my view, if you can achieve that, that's a success for Oceano. But it's more complicated, as most things are. And I with all due respect to Mr. Varney and the discussion about the Stanford law students' legal analysis, I will tell you from personal experience that the Friends of the Dunes, they have real practicing trial lawyers. And right now, if you look at the California Coastal Commission closed session agenda for yesterday,
Five.
they have 5 legal actions against the commission. And I will tell you again from personal experience, I've been in the courtroom, they win their lawsuits. And the last one against the Coastal Commission entailed a $250,000 legal bill the state of California had to pay. So these guys don't lose. My point is this: the OHV folks are not going quietly into the good night. And it's my personal feeling that any discussion of a phase out, 1 year, 5 year moratorium, any of that, those topics are non-starters. So what does that look like? In my opinion, the OHV is going to stay in business, but we don't want them north of the creek. So what's the alternative? Well, the alternative is what was contemplated in 1982, and that was a new permanent southern entrance. Enter Phillips 66. There, right as of right now, there's a 10-foot offer of dedication.
Your time is over, Mr. Jeff Edwards.
Thank you. If I
Thank you,
may,
Jeff Edwards. Your
Thank you.
comments will be taken in consideration.
Thank
so
you.
much for your comments.
Thank
you
you,
for your
Jeff.
comments.
Can I just add here that for people, if you want to raise your hand, you can go to the bottom of your screen to where it says reactions. Click on that and you'll see a raise hand button. And I see that Miss Brennan has her hand up.
Go ahead, Ms. Brennan.
Hello, Oceano Advisory Council. Thank you for considering this tonight. I think it's really appropriate that the Advisory Council does have a public discussion about this. As you know, I am the CEO of the South County Chambers of Commerce, and we represent the businesses in Oceano. We had a great meeting today with the business owners, and they're very concerned about this closure of Pier Avenue. I know that we're not going to agree on everything tonight with your group, but I think that we can all agree there's some things in the Coastal Commission staff recommendations that have not been well thought out. And so I would like to see how we can work together on that. I don't want them to making decisions on plans that have not really been thought through realistically. Our businesses are suffering because of the impacts of COVID-19. We have the additional job losses from Diablo decommissioning and the closure of Phillips 66. That will be 1,650 high wage jobs that we are losing. You just heard from Mr. Dayton tonight that there's a possibility of losing another 200 Oceano jobs. That's a lot of jobs for Oceano. And now the businesses are facing losing the tourism dollars that the OHV visitors bring. Now, I know it is debatable. There's conflicting studies. There's not good data. I think we can all also agree on that we don't have good data right now on how much money do these visitors bring and where do they spend it and what are the impacts, positive or negative, to our community. So the Chamber, in partnership with SLOCAL, the San Luis Obispo County Tourism Marketing District, and with the 3 South County cities in the County of San Luis Obispo, is commissioning a economic impact study. This should be going out for a request for proposal soon. And so that report, we believe, will give us unbiased data that we can use to plan for the future of not only Oceano, but Grover Beach and South County, and plan for the future of the park. This 5-year phase out and closure of Pier Avenue that the staff is recommending to the Coastal Commission, there's a lot of problems with some of their recommendations, and I've heard some of you tonight even voice them. So what we would ask is that you might join with us in sending a letter to the Coastal Commission and asking them to delay this decision until we have a really good economic impact report that we can all agree on the methodology and the results of the report and all the data inputs. And then also we have a representative that represents South Central Coast. Right now that seat is vacant, and this is a major decision for our area. And I do believe that we should have someone that should come meet with you, meet with the chamber, meet with the businesses, see the beach, see the area between Grand and Pier, see Pier Avenue, and really have their head around what this means for our community. If the 5-year phase out is approved, it will close the park or the OHV portion of the park right when Diablo decommissions at the exact same time. And I think that that is more than I
Thank you for your
can
comment.
handle. Thank you.
Thank you, Jocelyn.
Thank you for your comments,
Thank
Jocelyn.
you for your comments.
Kiss my ass.
Do we have anybody else for public comment?
Rock and Roll Diners here, Old Juan Cantina's here.
Mario's?
Did they, yeah, that's Rock and Roll Diner. Do they want to talk?
Can you give instructions on how to unmute from the phone?
Well,
Uh,
R9.
this is Mario's, the owner of the Rock and Roll Diner and the I wish I was on One's Cantina.
Well,
And Pittsburgh Coast Village Grill. It's going to be more repetitive of some of what Jocelyn just pointed out, and also some of the other business owners. I have about between 20 and 30 people working for me, and that's going to be really a loss for some of the businesses. I am at the point that like I don't really know what's going to happen in the event that the dunes close, and me and Adam actually had a quick meeting in the afternoon trying to figure out ways of what would be other ways to attract people to Oceano, and we're going to need a lot of help from the county and the state in order to create some attractions. And if it was to be for Pier Avenue to close down, the other thing that I wanted to point out is again what Jocelyn said. There's some major employers leaving this area, and plus COVID-19, and this is not the right time, especially July 1st. July 1st is not the time to. We already lost one summer due to COVID-19, and another, summer is where we make our money, and a lot of that money is funneled back to our communities. So if we get an extension in order to get more data or correct data, or figure out have meetings with alternative ways of attracting more tourism, more tourists, maybe get more better use of the lagoon that we have in the park that is located behind my restaurant. It's a perfect spot for recreating families instead of a lot of homeless RVers camping everywhere in Oceano and nothing is done about it. That is another major problem that we need to focus on. We have to ask the sheriff and the state park, the rangers, because they all know the rules, and it's more of like a chase game, but it is. We have to beautify Oceano, and pretty much thank you for your time.
Thank you for your comments.
Thank you, Mario.
Thank
Thank
you,
you.
Mario.
Do we have anybody else here for public comment?
Adam Verdeen has his hand raised.
Go ahead, Adam. Adam,
Does he know to do *6 to unmute?
I just,
Okay, thank you for that hint. *6. I
You're very
appreciate
welcome.
it. Thank you very much for hearing me out on this. My name is Adam Verdon, and my sister and I own Old Juan's Cantina on Pier Avenue. And so we're a multi-generational Latino-owned business. We employ about 52 full and part-time employees. And we very much oppose the closure of Pier Avenue, particularly at this time. I could not imagine a worse time to do it. We're right on the heels of COVID, and then right when summer starts. And really, that's kind of that is my full statement. So thank you for your time and for your consideration.
Thank you for your comments.
Thank you, Adam.
Thank you.
Do we have anybody else with public comment? Anybody else with public comment? I see a Galaxy J7 Star, a Ron Perry,
There's a Jen.
a JV6. Does anybody else want to contribute to public comment?
I suggest we close public comment then.
So maybe they don't know how to access, raise their hand.
If they're on the phone, it's, what is it, *9 to raise your hand if you're on your phone?
I say we go on.
If no one's raising their hand.
It's *6.
*6 once you've been chosen to unmute yourself.
Yes.
Mhm.
And at the bottom where there's a raise hand, there you go to reactions and there's you click on that. And you can get a raised hand.
Or you can unmute yourself and just speak up and say you want to talk. Okay, I think we've been very patient with people to, you know.
Please, let's go on.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll close public comment. And now we'll just have discussion on our position. Does anyone want to start the discussion?
I'll go first. I'd just like to thank everyone who was willing to talk to this committee and get your points across. You know, as somebody who is involved in the community, it's intimidating sometimes, but it's your right. Use it every chance you can. Don't not stick up for yourself and your beliefs, even if they go against what everyone else feels. That's your right as an American citizen. I would like to say that there are a few things that were said that I just wanted to have clarification on. The first one is there wouldn't be a gate put across Pier Avenue. It would still be available as a venue. It just would not be available to drive onto the beach from. So I would like that misunderstanding clarified. And I would say that I agree that I don't think enough of a traffic study has been done, that if they were to pass this decision today, I think that we are ill prepared to know what the consequence would be at Highway 1 and Grand Avenue when we're dealing with a short entrance onto the beach, very limited parking for fins in that area, a hotel convention location going in right there, train tracks right there, an ATV rental right there, and if we're going to turn all of the access onto the beach, onto that street. So personally, I just think that something way better needs to be looked at and decided before that's made a decision today. So I do agree with that from Steve's point of view. As for the property itself, the value of it depends, obviously, on its use. And I understand that you use it now for renting ATVs or repairing ATVs and storing ATVs, but it can be used for anything. So as the owner of a property, you can do anything you want with your property, whether it's ATVs or not. Things change, things evolve all the time. And Oceano's permit to access the beach was temporary. So if you don't want it to be temporary, where have you been the last 40 years making it permanent to have this? No one has ever fought it to make it permanent. So now we're just trying to fix a mistake or an oversight of a permit that was temporary. It is no longer serving its purpose for the residents of Oceano. I am a resident of Oceano. My entire lifetime of 50 plus years, I've only known that beach to have vehicle access. And this summer was my first awareness that this beach is stunning, gorgeous, and ecologically important. And we never got that access before. So there will never be a right time to everybody 100% to close it or change it or do whatever. No 100% consensus is going to make that happen. But we've done it with a temporary permit for a very long time. And we've seen it without it, and it looked wonderful. So I can't deny that, and I'm not going to say that's not the case. Family can visit. We have mountains. We have many other places to do, things to see. There are deserts to go ride ATUCs and Vs in and quads and all that stuff. The chamber is in the business of promoting business, not nature, not neighborhoods, not quality of life issues for the residents. So I get the South County Chamber's point, but that doesn't help the residents. The businesses have you as a representative, but who do the residents have? We don't have a chamber. We have the OAC, we have our supervisor, we have our voices. That's all we have. And especially in Oceano, that's unincorporated. We don't have what you guys have. And to hear that the Pismo Chamber in particular is gearing up to do a protest or a hands across the dunes or the whatever, when the city of Pismo itself went on record to say that this summer that we just had during a worldwide pandemic and a worldwide health crisis with all unnecessary travel halted, that they had better business than usual. I don't buy the argument that we need tourism that is derived from on-dune use only to survive in this town. The evidence shows elsewhere. Now, if we do a study, I'm concerned that whoever pays for a study gets the results they want. So if a chamber pays for a study, a chamber gets the results it wants. If Parks pays for a study, it gets the results it wants. If Oceano Advisory Council did a study, we'd probably get the results we paid for. So if we had an independent study, I would be much more open to that. But we don't have that time. And for 40 years, no one else stood up and tried to get this handled. So we've seen it this way. Let's try it this way. We've done it the wrong way, the alternate way, the not quite above board way for far too long. And we have a chance to do it this way. In the real world, if I don't have clients, I have to move to where the food is, to where the food is my clients, where I can earn money. if the food of the dunes is no longer available, we all adapt. Necessity is the mother of invention. It's life. It's what you do. So with all that in mind, I understand some of the issues and I agree with some of the issues, absolutely. But I don't think that just saying, let's do nothing and let's just keep the status quo is our answer. That's my take on it. Thank you.
Lucia?
Thank you, April. I think you stated the case very well, and I am very impressed by your use of language. So,
It is my first one.
right, it's my fourth. So Latin, Spanish, English, Italian. So, first of all, I want to reiterate that last year it was 1st of July. It was summer, like Mario said, and it would be a bad time to close the beach to cars. No, last year, 4th of July, our beach was packed with hundreds of people walking the sidewalks of Pier Avenue. And if they had, and I'm sure you didn't lose any money that summer because there were so many people walking up and down Pier Avenue and carrying their gear in little carts. And they were so funny and so good to look at. All the people carrying their stuff and walking to the beach. And that's what we want to promote. We want to promote foot traffic on Pier Avenue. We don't want to get rid of business on Pier Avenue. We just want to promote pedestrian and foot tourism, people that will stop in little coffee shops, people that will stop to buy food to carry on the beach, people who cannot carry days and days of food supplies and buy nothing from Oceano, but people who will need to buy their ice cream or their coffee and their junk food for the day. So actually history showed that Pier Avenue would do very well without cars on the beach. And I want to specify again that we are not closing the beach, for God's sake. Those signs out there are false. They are deceptive and they are very much, and because they're false, you know, I wonder, why are people sending out false information? Nobody wants to close the beach. Actually, we want to open up to everyone, because you have to understand that in my opinion, pedestrians and vehicles are not compatible. When we are children, our parents teach us that we cannot play on the street because street is for cars. So why are you allowing your children to play? Why should we allow our children to play on the beach of Oceano, which is ruled by the traffic code, which is a highway? No, pedestrians and vehicles are not compatible, especially on a beach.
Good
and
said.
then I say, I know it is difficult. It is difficult. We had to start somewhere. We have to start sometimes. We have to start some way, because 4 years ago, the Coastal Commission already knew that it wasn't gonna work, but it grandfathered the OHVUs to off-roaders because the Coastal Commission and the Coastal Act came after the OHVUs was already in use on the dunes. However, it said you gotta change entrance, and it was never done. So it's not our fault. It's not the Commission's fault. The Commission is just trying to do its job. It's just trying to apply the law. And the law is the Coastal Act, which says the dunes and the beach in front of the dunes are environmentally sensitive habitat. And there is no OHV and no driving on environmental sensitive habitat anywhere in our state. So the Coastal Commission is just upholding the law. Number two, the coastal plan, the San Luis Obispo coastal plan says the La Grande tract is a buffer area. It was classified a buffer area between the SVRA and the Oceano community. Well, it was never really, it was never enforced. It was totally disregarded. So again, the Coastal Commission is trying to do its job. And I think the law needs to be upheld. I believe that we live in a democracy and we all are expected to follow the law, no matter how much it hurts. It hurts to follow the law, but we need to follow. Otherwise, we lose trust. We lose everything. And no, I don't want another study. I don't want another limbo. We've been in limbo for 40 years. And like a council member in Grover Beach said, if I owned an ATV rental, I would like to know as soon as possible what's going to happen in the future. I don't want to kick the can down the road another 5 years, because maybe in 5 years, let's pretend I give up on my ATV store, and in 5 years, State Parks change its mind. It's going to be OHV again, and I lost my ATV store. No, we need to know as soon as possible, because we don't want to be in this limbo anymore. We want to give some business, we're going to give businesses the chance to change, to adapt, and to reinvent their business. Number two, excuse me, last thing. Don't be afraid. I understand that some people will lose their jobs. If I could, I would share my recovery check with you. I'm sorry, I really feel it. I think you should ask OHV division to give you compensation, because OHV division led you on in a criminal activity for 40 years. It gave you, it made you do a criminal activity, deceiving you that it was okay to do. So you should ask for financial compensation from OHV division, which is the richest department of state parks. It makes between 60 million and 150 millions a year. Okay, my last thing. I do support Coastal Commission's recommendations to close Pier Avenue July 1st. And I support the Coastal Commission recommendations to phase off OHV. And I do not agree with 5 years. I want them to do it by the end of this year, because we can't stay in longer limbo. And once these three things are done and the campground is moving north, and there are only going to be 500, no 1,500, we will handle then the traffic problem. But we got to start someplace. So I say yes to everything by the end of the year. Forget about 5 years. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Lucia. Any other council member want to chime in? Charles?
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. First of all, I really am appreciative of people coming to the meeting tonight and sharing their perspectives, and especially our local business people and the chamber and you know, all of any of the residents from Oceano. And I understand the anxiety and the fear. There are a lot of pieces on the chessboard. A lot of them are contradictory. We really don't know, you know, which way things are going to go. And I think it's important to keep in mind what Mr. Edwards said, that you know, a whole bunch of the chess pieces are the State Parks Public Works program. Which actually, and I'm sure that Mr. Dayton is aware of this, the State Parks is proposing to get rid of ATV rentals because it is so dangerous. And, you know, the great majority of people, that 93% of the people that go to the hospital from ATV riding injuries are from outside of San Luis Obispo County. A huge number of them, proportion, are people who are inexperienced riders because they just rented an ATV, went out, buzzed up the slope of a dune at 35 miles an hour, and all of a sudden found a 40-foot drop that they were rolling down on the other side. But I do think that, and I know that the ATV rental on Pier Avenue, people don't rent an ATV there and drive it down the beach. They do the rental contract and are put in a transport and driven down the beach to the SVRA. So I don't see how that would be necessarily impact the business that much if the entrance onto Pier Avenue is closed, because people can just walk there to the other side of it and get in their transport and get taken down to the beach. There is an emergency entrance into the dunes through the state parks vehicle entrance maintenance yard. So that's not an issue. And really the the big issue, I think, for off-roaders is you need to find a southern entrance to get in. You know, south of the Dunes Preserve, south of Arroyo Grande Creek. I mean, that personally, that's not a solution that I'm going to support. But on the chessboard, rather than arguing to keep our beaches open to be your freeway, you need to find an entrance down south to get in that you know, the Coastal Commission will support. I'm really glad to hear, and I'm so happy that Ms. Brennan is here and talking about this new research project, economic impact research project from the chamber. As a professional social researcher, PhD sociologist, I'm pretty familiar with survey research methodology, and I can absolutely say that the state parks economic impact research is fatally flawed, biased. They are all classic examples of creating a survey to get the results that you want, and the economic impact of OHV is hugely exaggerated. Now, we did have a very excellent study done. It was very unique in that we had this opportunity with COVID. I mean, I would rather we didn't have COVID, believe me, but with COVID and the fires, you know, all of the beach communities in our county were experiencing the same variables: smoky skies, shutdowns, and all of that. And so it was a very interesting time then to compare what's the economic data show, comparing Oceano, where there's no more off-highway vehicles, no more vehicles on the beach, to what happened to the economies of like Pismo Beach and Avila Beach or Morro Bay. And that research showed that the tourist taxes in Oceano reached almost $1 million, almost $400,000 higher than any time in history. So actually having the beaches shut down seemed to be a real economic advantage. And you know, we're not going to get into a public dialogue now because we've stopped public comment, but I would be very happy to meet with any business person to talk to you about this. And I'd really like to know what was the business like at Old Juan's Cantina or at the Rock and Roll Diner in 2020. I think it's really important that the chamber study doesn't just focus on money brought in by off-highway vehicle people, and we need to distinguish off-highway vehicle people from people who are camping at Oceano Campground or Pismo Campground or the county campground that don't care about OHVs. And in the past, that hasn't been done. I'd like to get data on how many more tens of thousands of people would come to our beaches if there were not vehicles on it. That's the big question that's never been addressed. What would it be like for us to be a true beach community? Grover Beach, Oceano Beach. Oceano has never had an opportunity to develop itself to be a beach community and experience the benefits of that economic development and that cultural development that comes with having a beach that is for people, not for vehicles. And the hypocrisy of, and that's the nicest word I can come up for it, of Pismo Beach, Chamber of Commerce, to be having a rally to keep cars on the beaches of Oceano when they banned their autos from being on their beach, like, you know what, like
20
30
years.
years ago or 25 years ago. And that's when
Maybe.
Pismo became really a tourist destination. I'd like to see in this survey a random sample of people, you know, let's say outside of our county, ask 1,000 people if they're going to go on a beach vacation, do they want to go to a beach that has hundreds of cars driving up and down on it, or do they want to go to a beach without cars? And my hunch is that you'll find over 90% of them want to come to a beach without cars on it. So when people come to the beach, they don't come to Oceano Beach, they go to Pismo, they go to Avila. And in fact, when our residents in Oceano want to take their families to the beach, they go to Pismo or they go to Avila because it's not safe here. It was safe this year in 2020. And as a lot of us have pointed out, there were hundreds of people on the beach. So I think that's that pretty much summarizes my comments. I think it's extremely important that the suggestions made for economic support for transition from having autos on the beach to not having autos on the beach for businesses is absolutely valid. And I will fight as hard as I can for all of the businesses in Oceano to have transitional money. I will fight as hard as I can to promote Pier Avenue as a destination spot. I mean, think of like with vehicles not being able to go onto the, you know, use it as the entryway to the beach. So we have a dead end street at Pier Avenue. Think about like on special occasions, shutting down the last block of Pier Avenue right before the beach. And we have a big music event. We have a big fiesta. We have Cinco de Mayo. We really start, and the chamber supports us. And we start getting some of this transient occupancy taxes spent on promoting Oceano. When the melodrama comes back on, I mean, we are a community ready to bloom and grow and really develop in a real positive way. And all of us on this council are very cognizant of gentrification. And we want to have good development and we want to protect our affordable housing. And we are working on other ways to do that. And we invite all of you to come in and join in with us to move forward on this. So I apologize for going on, but it's we rarely have an opportunity to share with other people. And again, thank you so much for being here.
We could have a farmer's market like Avila, a big dancing and music and farmer's market at the end of Pier Avenue. That'd be wonderful. We could be the new Avila Beach.
Okay, I think all the council members have had time to, you know, state their statements and comments, and now it's my turn.
Yeah.
As chairperson of the Oceano Advisory Council and lifelong resident of Oceano, my beautiful beach town of Oceano, I too want to see economic development in Oceano. I'm tired of not having sidewalks. I'm tired of not having proper lighting. I'm tired of being the stepchild of the county, of the 5 cities of the state, it seems like. I want to see our beautiful beach town bloom, and there is a possibility of it if we all of us do our best and the community supports us, comes on board. All of our community, we're 60% Latino, and I think I only have one Latina here, Fernanda. I wish more Latinos would participate. Unfortunately, there's language barriers, cultural barriers, inclusiveness barriers, and all that. Pier Avenue being closed, it wasn't thought out correctly. They should have done a traffic study. They should have thought it out, but I think they just threw us a bone. They have an environmental justice policy on their books that they basically have not done anything with, practically ignored it. They say that they're for inclusion, they're for communities of color, but they really haven't come out straight out and said, we are going to enforce our policy and do everything we can to support and make sure that Oceano gets environmental justice. So if that's the bone they threw us, let's take it. That's the way I see it. I'm very pro-business. Our council is pro-business. We're not for getting rid of business or shutting the beach down. COVID-19 gave us an opportunity to see what we could be. More and more people were coming every single month. I was there every single day almost with my mom on her walker. She struggled through the sandy part, but when she got on there on the wet sand, she would walk almost a mile. And at 83 with osteoporosis and only one eye, I was blessed. I was blessed to have that opportunity. And it was an eye opener for me, because for the first time in my whole life, saw Oceano and the beautiful dunes, and started getting more interested and learning more about it, learning that we had one of the most unique set of dunes, the longest and unique set of dunes in the world, I repeat. So I do believe that we can attract other tourism. As for the ATV businesses that are there, again, I'm repeating what Charles said. I thought about this over the weekend for the last couple of days, thinking about those people there that have ATV businesses there on Pier. And if I was one of them, always put yourself in the other person's, how would you say, try to identify with the other person by putting yourself in their shoes. And I thought I wouldn't like it, but then I thought, wait, there's not that many ATV businesses, so people will still rent from them. They'll just have to enter through the other way. They'll still rent the ATVs until this phase out that I would hope is going to happen in a year or two at the most. The 5-year thing to me is they're just going to take the 5 years and add another 5 years and then another 5 years. It's just an excuse. OHV is very powerful. We know that there's all these lawsuits. I think some of them are scared. They're afraid of the repercussions, whatever they might be. And we probably, that's probably why they've drug it on. It never was meant to be a permanent entrance because it takes our beachfront away. It takes Oceano Beach away from the community of Oceano. And we all know that the beachfront is prime land there. It doesn't belong to us, it belongs to the whole world. And but communities that live by a beachfront, that's the most important area there for economic reasons. And we, the disadvantaged town of Oceano, and a lot of people say, well, they shouldn't call Oceano disadvantaged. Why not? We are. We don't have sidewalks. We don't have lighting. We don't have a lot of amenities. We are disadvantaged. I'm on the OCSD as a director there. And whenever I ask about it, we don't have the monies. No one wants to give us the monies because we don't have enough tax base. The county, I guess, can't give us the money. Pismo won't give us the money. Nobody will give us the money. We are disadvantaged. So I'll take the bone of closing Pier, and I would rather have it be 1 year. If they're serious, if they're really serious, they could do it. If the 5-year thing, I'm very skeptical, and deep down inside, I'm be honest, I don't believe it. It's 5 years gonna go by, another 5 years, and another 5 years, and I'm gonna be dead, and I will never see Oceano have a traditional beachfront, and I don't want that. So let them, say the truth and let us know. It's unfair to the community of Oceano. It's unfair to the business people in Oceano. It's unfair to everyone. They need to grow a spine, stop being jellyfish in Oceano and grow a spine and tell us the truth. So that's all I have to say.
So then this is the time for us to discuss what we want to do in terms of formulating a statement for the Coastal Commission, I would suggest that we start with the topic of Pier Avenue. And I'm not sure how you'd like to proceed, Madam Chair. There are, I think, some core issues that have come up over the last 3 months of our meetings here, and input that we've heard from the community, and then the what is in the coastal development permit recommendations from the Coastal Commission staff. And obviously the closing of Pier Avenue is one of is the primary point of interest for us. I think right in this moment. And so I would suggest that maybe we go around and check in with each of the council members and in terms of what recommendation they have about the closing or time of closing of Pier Avenue.
Is there any chance for a public rebuttal, even if it's a short 30 seconds? Would you be willing to do that? No chance for a second comment?
No, that's not how it operates, Mr. Dayton. But I'd be, again, I'd be happy to talk with you, offline.
Yeah, I would like to do that in April. I'd like to talk to you also.
Yeah.
So I'll try to connect with you after the meeting or.
And also anything you put in writing, we're happy to attach to minutes or put on the website or in any way make available if there's something you'd like to make more formal outside of this meeting.
Oh, a couple things, but thank you.
You're very welcome. Thank you, Steve.
I have an idea.
Why don't we go around the members? It looks like Lucia wants to start off.
Yes.
Lead off.
I actually, it seems I'm thinking, why are we closing Pier Avenue on the 31st of July? And then I would have everything happen at the same time. And I would have everything happen by January 31st of this year. Because of closing Pier Avenue and keeping the cars on the beach, all of them entering from Grand Avenue, it's not going to help us on Pier Avenue as much, and it's going to create a lot of problem for Grand and Grover Beach. So my motion would be that we support closing Pier Avenue, phasing off OHV, and driving south of Pier Avenue, and moving the campground north of Pier Avenue by the end of this year. All of it, period. And why have them happen at different times? I think, they have 7 months, plenty of time. They still have plenty of time. It's close enough. It's not too far. It's not too near. And so that would be my suggestion. We support closing Pier Avenue. We support phasing off OHV and driving south of Pier Avenue. And we support moving 500 camping and day use north of Pier Avenue by the end of 2021. Thank you.
Anyone else? April?
I don't know if it really would fit into what's before us tonight, and I never thought of this, and hearing the three of you mention this, I'm absolutely for, is figuring out some financial compensation to assist the businesses who will be detrimentally affected by this. Not to single anyone out, but any restaurants that are across the street from large campgrounds, I don't really think that you would be as negatively impacted as, let's say, Steve's ATV, or if you sold flags that you put on the back of your quad so that you ride safely on the dunes. So whatever the scope may be, I absolutely 100% think that should be part of the package. Okay. And on the table. and realistic, not some pie in the sky. Well, we'll talk about that later. That's a very viable and important aspect, an argument for keeping it open. I don't agree with it, but I understand it and I accept it. I think that the environmental impact is the most important. Secondary is the quality of life for Oceano residents and others that want to enjoy the nature aspect. So whatever we can do to minimize the wear and tear on our natural, beautiful resource, I support that. I can tell you as a bookkeeper, a local bookkeeper with local clients, there are many businesses that did better than usual. They thought they were going to struggle during this and in fact did better. And I'm not talking anything weird or bizarre. I'm talking the very same industries who are before us right now, outside of an ATV rental, that did great for whatever reason. So I'm going to support whatever is the least harsh on our dunes, on our nature, and is best for the quality of life for Oceano residents. If ATV jobs go away, something will replace them. It just does. That's how commerce works. Something will go in there, but I am all for helping businesses get in there or figure it out.
And April, so how do you feel about closing pier?
To onboarding for the beach, I'm for closing it for onboarding to the beach. Yes.
That's in July,
Yes.
not in January, not in January of 22.
I am for whatever the consensus is, but the big picture is I want beach access gone and make it compatible and useful for humans on Pier Avenue to enjoy the town of Oceano over on that side.
Good.
Thank you.
Okay.
And so Charles.
Right, I guess I go next.
Yes.
So I do support the closing of Pier Avenue. I'm not sure what that date would be. I'm reluctant to make the closing of Pier Avenue conditional on the whole OHV being shut down and all of that, because I think that's going to take a whole lot longer. But I do support it by a certain date, and I would also support that if we make that recommendation, we also make a recommendation that there be some, that the whole topic of transitional compensation for Pier Avenue businesses be part of that closure, and that dedicated funds for promotion of Pier Avenue businesses be part of that closure. Also, I think if we're talking about Pier Avenue, that that if and when that happens, that the gates to the beach are closed on Pier Avenue, then, and this is something we have talked about in the past, and April has spent many early morning hours on research of this, is that the whole parking issue on Pier Avenue needs to be seriously reconfigured and expanded. And that's, I mean, when you see pictures of the weekend on the beaches during COVID, I mean, there's literally hundreds of families down there, and that's in spite of there's hardly any parking to get to the beach in Oceano. So we really need to reconfigure the timing of like the street sweeping and all of that. I mean, it really needs to be totally revamped. And I think we also need to pressure state parks to provide parking for beachgoers in the visitor center parking lot that's right on Pier Avenue. I mean, it's really the only public parking asset off the road, and the parks just hogs it, and it's rarely the parking spaces are always empty.
Yes, they must.
And then I think one other thing that a number of people have talked to across the community is having access to the beach that's ADA appropriate for seniors, for disabled people, for people in chairs, and that shutting down Pier Avenue, we would need to have, I mean, I'm sure that the technology of kind of like portable sidewalks that are unrolled over the sand that provide a hard surface for people to move down to the beach, and they are somewhat portable and can be moved with the tides, that would be another provision. So with those notions, I would definitely support a hard date for closing Pier Avenue. And I mean, if that's, you know, whatever, July 1, and I think that's really, I mean, I know if we were talking to the businesses, they'd say, well, let's make it July 1 in 2030. But you know, I mean, I really don't support like shutting it down on March 19th. I think there needs to be more thought put into it, but I do support it.
Where does it say March
Thank
19th?
you. Thank you,
I-
Charles.
March 19th.
So I'll just do some closing comments because I think I've talked a lot. I too, as I stated, I'm supporting the closure of Pier Avenue because, as I stated, it's the bone that was thrown and we need to take it, because for us to get anything else, who knows when it's going to be. And it'll give us, with it being closed as an access to the Otis VRA, it allows us to have a cleaner street there and to start planning to make it a nicer street, to make it you know, modernize it, clean it up a little, make it nicer. When you're driving there, everything up to where the lake ends, right there, the campground, it looks really nice. And all of a sudden from the liquor store on, what happened? You know, it looks terrible. It needs new sidewalks, it needs to be cleaned up, the street needs to be, you know, be reconfigured. Parking needs to be redone there completely, and handicap access is terrible for my mom there. It's like she takes 20 minutes. She really loves to go to the beach. You can tell, 20 minutes to get from the sandy area to the wet sand. So that's terrible. That's just awful. And then they have that wheelchair there, which is a joke. Try pushing that wheelchair with, you know, someone that's over 100 pounds when you're a woman. Try doing that. That's a joke. It's really sad for people that are handicapped. So yes, I do agree with closing Pier as soon as possible. And like, I am very pro-business. And so I had a business before in my young age, and I realized how hard it is to run a business and to be in business anywhere. So I am very pro-business, and it needs to be in writing that those people, the ATV people, get compensated once the transition does happen, or even before, if they show that it's significant, there's a loss of monies from that street being closed off in July. Which I doubt that's going to happen, because people will still come to the Otis VRA and they need to rent an ATV, and they'll just go there and rent it and go and enter from Grover Beach. I really doubt that there's going to be that much, but if there is and they can show it, they should be compensated for that. And yes, like Charles said, not only that, but they need to be compensated for the transition and also for the loss. So both, and in writing, and something that's going to be fair, not compensate them with like 50 grand a year or whatever, fair to whatever, close to what they're making. They need to be compensated. I agree. And that needs to go in the letter. Those are my thoughts.
I
Go ahead, Lucia.
I remake my motion because I really think it's very important. Just telling the Coastal Commission that we agree on closing Pier Avenue without giving them a date. It's again being ambiguous, vague, and just leave it up in the air. Well, who's going to decide the date? But somebody's got to say a date. Me, I think the most realizable date would be the end of the year. It cannot make sense to me that why July 1st, why March 19th? I think it will give a little more time. It will leave more time. That's a really phase off. And to just address the closing of Pier Avenue without saying anything about that 1,500 vehicles that will still be allowed on a beachfront makes no sense. We also need to support phasing off OHV and driving on the beach south of Pier Avenue. They go together. They go together and they need to happen at the same time. So my motion is that we support closing Pier Avenue as access to the beach, that we phase off OHV vehicles and driving south of Pier Avenue by January 31st of this year, and that we move the camping north not to exceed the 500 spots by the end of this year. That will bring less traffic to Grand Avenue. They will have to put up with the 1,500 only until the end of this year. But to have a 500 going through Grand Avenue in the long run, it's not going to be that devastating. They have to happen at the same time. And number 4, we demand the compensation from, it has to be clear that it has to be OHV division. We demand the compensation from OHV division for the businesses that will have to transition and that will lose revenues because of the transition.
Okay,
So we have a motion on the floor. Do we have a second?
are we in consensus about picking a hard date or changing the date for closure?
I think procedurally, we need a second before we can move forward to discuss it.
Well, I'll second it if we're open to opening it to discussion.
Thank you.
Thank you, April.
Yeah, the date is not, I mean, I said the end of this year because it seems to me the most reasonable. Because July 1st seems like that really picked out of nowhere. But the end of this year seems to be most reasonable. So why should it be November 31st or August 17th? The end of this year seems like to be very reasonable to me.
My concern is Parks hasn't been reasonable yet. So the sooner we make them deal with it, I think the sooner they would try harder. That's just me. I think if we give them until December 31st or January 1st or whatever you want to call it, it's just, again, more kicking the can, a shorter kick, but still kicking, and breathing room for the Pismo chamber to rally around the woman who makes money off of advertising in the Central Valley, Valerie Mercado. That's, I mean, that's what this is all about. It's about money for them. And I just don't want to give, we've waited 40 years. So I'm torn between July 1st or July 31st and January 1st. As a business owner, I think January 1st is very much more fair. I mean, I agree with that. But as a person who's lived 50 plus years as a resident of this community and never had a car-free beach, I'd like it tomorrow.
Yes.
So I'm going to go with what the consensus is.
So I can't support the motion for the reasons I stated earlier, that it just combines too many things. I would like to, and I think that, I mean, this is the first item on the agenda, really. The next item is looking at the recommendations from the Stanford legal team, which address these larger issues that Lucia is talking about. And so I would propose the date of closing Pier Avenue to be September 30th. That is basically, Labor Day in early September is typically the end of summer. That would give, all the businesses a chance to see what it's like with, things as they are through the summer tourist season. And then that's the date that Pier Avenue is closed. And so I would support that with the other provisions about the transitional support, the addressing the lack of parking, and ADA access.
And what about the phasing off of HV and the camping?
I beg your pardon?
And what about the rest of the recommendations? You would ignore them? OHV?
No, I don't want to ignore them at all, but in terms of this motion that we're discussing about Pier Avenue, as I agree with Aline, that is the one bone specific thing they have said about Oceano that they would be willing to give to Oceano. And I want to keep that on the front burner rather than just put it in the soup with all these other things, which are going to be even more contentious.
So you would have a motion for have multiple motions?
No, I would have a motion that we recommend shutting down Pier Avenue on September 30th and the other conditions that would go along with that we discussed about the transitional support or transitional compensation, expanded parking on Pier Avenue, and ADA accessible sidewalk for the beach.
So you wouldn't want, so you do not want the council to take a position on the other recommendations?
That's next on the agenda. I'm talking about just Pier Avenue.
Forgive me, then I just need to look at the agenda again. So, okay, then let me look at the agenda.
The agenda is a general statement about discussing recommendations to the Coastal Commission, right?
I know, and there are 5 staff recommendations. OHV phasing off south of driving of south of pier, moving the campground. There are all kinds of stuff. I don't understand why you just want to address one recommendations. I don't really understand.
Okay, well, I thought I explained myself pretty clearly. I mean, I'll do it one more time. That this is the discrete, specific thing they have offered to Oceano. And I don't want to mix it up with all the other stuff.
But they're excuse me if I argue with you, Mr. HR, they're all connected. I don't see, how can we chop them up? How can we chop them up? If we had Pier Avenue without vehicles to the beach and we don't have the beachfront, what good is going to do to us to have a peaceful Pier Avenue with coffee shop if people can't still really carry their things and sit on the beach and have their day? Because it's dangerous and there are 1,500 vehicles going back and forth. I think they go together.
The OAC has no jurisdiction over the sand section.
Say it again.
The OAC has no jurisdiction over the sand section.
No, we have jurisdiction over either supporting or not staff recommendations, plural. And that's what we're here for, I thought. Staff recommendations, plural, not just staff recommendation.
So Charles, if I understand you correctly, are you just saying that you want a motion on how we want to address peer, and then we can talk another motion about how to address the phasing off, and then another.
Right, well, yes, I mean, there, I understand what Lucia is saying. I mean, you know, the Coastal Commission has the authority to restrict off-highway vehicle use in the park right now. They have they're not, state parks isn't required to maintain OHV recreation in the park. There's a lot of other specifics, and I'd be happy to look at, you know, the other things that Lucia is talking about. Maybe they go, you know, as a package, but I really want to keep Pier Avenue separate.
So but I think what the confusion is being caused by, you want to, a motion specifically for Pier Avenue and everything, the street, everything we want to do on the street. But in that letter also, we're gonna, on the second or third paragraph or whatever, on the second paragraph, we're gonna be discussing another recommendation. On the third paragraph, another recommendation. I think what Lucia's concerned that we're just gonna deal with Pier Avenue and we're not gonna say that we
Right.
disagree or not disagree on the other recommendations.
We can say, I agree with your date, Charles. Totally agree with your dates. That's settled. You made a good case. Let's close Pier Avenue by that date, and we recommend looking into parking, looking into, you know, handicap, and we make all those good recommendations that must go there. And number two, I would add, if it were my mission, that we also support no driving south of Pier Avenue by the same date. By the same date. Why do we have to wait 5 years to have no driving south of Pier Avenue? By the same date. And
That shuts down OHV.
yes, I support shutting down OHV. That's what the commission wants to do too. But the commission wants to do it in 5 years. I wish it would happen earlier. And then we recommend the OHV compensation to our businesses.
So what do you think the odds are of shutting OHV down compared to shutting the entrance to the beach at Pier Avenue is? What do you think we're more likely to get?
We're gonna, I think, Charles, we're gonna get the bone that they threw us, because that's why they threw it to us, because that's really what we're gonna get. And well, I don't see like why we can't put in the letter like Lucia states that we want it closed by Labor Day or New Year's of the following year, because in reality, it's probably not gonna happen. They're probably not gonna do it. Honestly, that's what I believe. There is just the bone that they threw to us. So if we say we want it closed, in 5 years, do you really think that they are going to close it in 5 years? I think in 5 years, they're going to say another 5 years. The purpose of that, because they don't have a spine to support their environmental justice policy. That's the reality of it. That's for anybody, a neutral observer or reader of this whole situation, they would come to the conclusion I come to, and most people would, you know, they would read it and see it and they would say, well, yeah, they threw them a bone. And in reality, if they really wanted to do it, they would have done it a long time ago. And now they're kicking the can again, another 5 years, purposely doing it. OHV has the money. It's obviously that they don't care. Now they care because now their entrance that they've been using for 40 years as temporary is being threatened. Now they care, but they didn't for all this time. They could have cared for doing something about making it a permanent entrance, involving the community of Oceano, involving the Latinos in Oceano, but they didn't care.
No, and that's, I hear that. And maybe, you know, it just ultimately, it doesn't make much difference whether we do this separately or together.
No, it doesn't, because in reality, if they really want to do it, they'll do it. And if they don't,
No, it doesn't.
Mhm.
right?
No, it doesn't, and we can do multiple motions. And actually, it might be better because we might have different. I no, that's not what I'm questioning. We can do multiple motions, really. But I heard something now, Charles, that I like to address. So you do not support staff's recommendation to shut down OHV?
Oh, yeah.
You do,
Oh, yeah. Yeah,
right? Then,
I do.
and
I
then,
mean, as a political reality, do I think that's going to happen? I
yes,
think it's
right.
kind of problematic. I think the Coastal Commission has the authority to do it right now. And I think that's what the Stanford Law Research and their letter to the commission details, very well, that they have plenty of authority to shut it down, and that they should shut it down. And putting a moratorium on it would finally force state parks to do something.
Yes.
Rather than just continue to, ignore it. And so, yeah, I would be for that. Mhm.
Yes, I went to the Guadalupe City Council 2 nights ago,
Oh,
and they
nice.
also had a discussion, and they made a single motion, a very simple single motion that was, we object to state parks development of Osoflaco improvement project, and we support California, the staff's recommendations, period. Now, there was for us, I like to be a little more specific because with us, actually, I have doubts with certain things, certain recommendations. I really don't want 1,500 car on a beachfront for the next 5 years. So I want to tell them that OHV and the driving south of pier has to stop.
September 30th of
Yes,
2021.
let's make it all on September 30th. Absolutely.
Mhm.
Why not? Let's start a new season with everything. No more driving south of Pavilion. All the camping is going to be north. No more than 500. I think I would like to ride that. No more than 500. So the Grover Beach is not burdened with the thousands of vehicles. 500, either camping or day use. Mhm. By September 30th, by the end of the summer.
That's your motion?
Yes, I make a motion. My motion
We
is
have a motion on the table. I'm just trying to clarify, that is your motion that you
yes.
made.
Oh, yes, that's my motion. Yes.
Okay.
That everything happens by September 30th.
Okay.
Closing Pier Avenue, no more driving south of Pier, and moving 500 camping north of Pier. And I want in the motion that OHV division must provide compensation for businesses to transition. I want that, especially Oceano businesses, but I wouldn't be fair if I only say Oceano businesses, all businesses.
So can you read your motion?
My motion is we support the OAC supports closing Pier Avenue as an access to ADISVRA, phasing off OHV use on dunes and beach, stopping driving south of Pier Avenue by September 30th, and allowing only 500 camping all day use on north of Pier Avenue by September 30th.
Okay.
And ask OHV division for compensation to OHV related businesses.
Okay. Guess I'd check with the second. Is that what you understand, April?
Say again,
Is that the motion? Is that?
if we're gonna vote on all of it, that would be the motion.
Okay.
Personally, I've stated, I think it should be bifurcated to what the OAC has jurisdiction over and not what the OAC does not have jurisdiction over, personally.
Mhm.
I think that's the role of the OAC in my interpretation of it.
However, for example, the City Council of Guadalupe, they have no jurisdiction either. However, they found it pertinent to give a recommendation to the CC. I think in our case, we are not really, we have no power whatsoever. So whatever we have jurisdiction or not, I don't think it's relevant. This is just the advice that we're giving, right? This is just,
It's within our lane.
yeah. So
Yes.
I guess I call for the question then.
so there is a motion and there is a second.
Mhm.
Okay, should we
Does
have,
anyone want to put forth a different motion?
Okay.
No, we've got a motion on the table. We need to vote on this.
do a roll call vote? Lucia Castellanovo,
Yes.
April Dury,
I'm for Pier Street closing. I don't feel comfortable voting on something that I don't believe this council has jurisdiction over. So, but I will go with the majority with that in mind. So maybe come back to me.
is that okay?
I'm not going to abstain. So
She
Okay,
wants to be called last.
okay,
there we go.
Yeah, I agree. I can see your point of view.
okay. Next is myself, and it's a yes for me. April,
How about
Hey,
Charles?
wait,
Charles,
Charles.
yes,
Well, then
Charles,
that makes it yes.
Charles.
great.
You want a couple more seconds, April?
No, I said yes, sorry.
You say
Oh.
yes. Yes, that's wonderful.
Passes.
That's wonderful. That's wonderful. Thank you, members.
I'm an Oceano resident. I want what's best for the Oceano people.
Me too. I've been here myself for 32 years. I came all the way from Italy to land up in Oceano. What do you think about that?
Unfortunately, no one in Oceano is allowed to be on the Coastal Commission. So
No,
we don't get a voice there,
I know.
which sucks.
So do
the
we,
Coastal Commission wants our input. They have asked for our input. They've asked for the advisory council.
Right, but
Maybe.
people who are on the city council of Pismo Beach get to be on the Coastal Commission.
Mhm.
We don't.
Right.
Correct.
And that to me is unfair
Mhm.
when it affects us.
Okay, I have a question. I'm a Sheila Eckert. I'm a newbie to this. So,
Who's
and
that?
I'm a resident of Oceano, and I totally agree with Lucia on the steps we need to follow. So, but I don't know if I'm a voting member or not yet. I don't know where I am on this. I'm a member of the group, but so what's my position?
Oh, hi, Sheila. It's really good to see you. Yes.
So this is a specific question for the chair. Can you answer the question? Because
Yes.
I don't
Yeah.
want to, we
Sheila,
need to
we are-
respect that we're not dialoguing right now because it's not public comment.
You're right.
yes, Sheila, the council is discussing and voting. It's for council members.
Okay, then I'm not a council member. Okay, got it. Okay, never mind.
But you can apply,
Yes.
I will.
just not right this minute.
And I'm going to say, yes, Sheila, you should apply.
I will.
Good.
Awesome.
So do we want to continue discussion?
I mean, we basically just voted on the whole thing, didn't we?
I would, yes, we did. But I would, I do have something else that I would like to present, and that is I'm in favor of us just, how can I put it? informing the commission that we believe the information in the Stanford comment letter on the authority that the Coastal Commission and state parks have to manage, control, and shut down OHV recreation is a very important document that we recommend they pay close attention to or give serious consideration to. It's more just sort of wading in on the calling attention to that. Remember, this research was done on behalf of the Dunes Alliance, an alliance of about 12 organizations in the county that want to protect the beaches and the dunes. And I would like to see us give a vote of support to that document. So I'll make a motion that
No, public comment, please.
That's fair.
I'm sorry.
Or we can discuss it before we make a motion so that the public knows kind of how we feel, and then they comment, and then we make a motion.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for that, April.
Mhm.
So the Mills Legal Clinic at Stanford University provided a document to the Coastal Commission, which details the various authorities, legal authorities, and the case law supporting it, that the California Coastal Commission has the legal authority to restrict off-highway vehicle use in the park. They can do that because there's environmentally sensitive habitat. The current operations in the park do not meet other Coastal Act chapter standards. State Parks management of the park does not undermine or supersede the commission authority, and the commission has a duty to protect the public trust, and the coastal development plan can mandate all reasonable conditions to respond to the coastal needs. Also, the state parks is not required to maintain OHV recreation in the park, which is something they've been arguing that they have to, they're mandated to. And as Stanford points out, since 1982, the OHV Act has required that state parks protect and conserve environmental ecological resources like wildlife, water, and soil. OHVs do not. OHV action at the park threatens all of those. And where OHVs cannot be maintained consistent with environmental standards, state parks must close OHVs to restore lands. This is all the law of California. And then the third major one is protection of endangered species in the ODSVRA requires eliminating OHV use. There's federal endangered species that require protection of the snowy plover, the California least tern, and then California Endangered Species Act prohibits even incidental take of the California least tern. Finally, environmental justice considerations demand eliminating OHV use in that it creates persistent poor air quality and dust pollution, and the Northern Chumash Council demand eliminating OHV use, and OHV use comes at the expense of the Oceano community. So that is the summary of what this report from Stanford Research provides to the Coastal Commission. And it clarifies who has authority to do what, which is an important piece of information for all the the state agencies to have, the Coastal Commission, state parks, State Department of Resources. So I would like us to go on record. Looks like Jeff Edwards has his hand raised. So when we get to public comment. So that's the overview. I think now we can open it to public comment.
So we're now open to public comment.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I presume you copy.
Mhm.
And thank you, Charles. With all due respect, I do have concerns about the Stanford Law analysis, and while I haven't read it in detail, I have perused it, and again, the Friends of Oceano Dunes, they have lawyers that are trial lawyers, and they've been very successful. And the Stanford Law analysis includes discussions about ESHA as an example. And I'm not sure you're aware, but the state parks has retained a specialist that will discuss ESHA, and that open dunes is not ESHA. Vegetated ESHA may be, but at the end of the day, I think it's important that your advisory council not endorse this particular opinion, because it's not been peer reviewed, and I think it's really there's an inherent bias in the Stanford Law analysis. And so again, I'd be cautious in embracing it at this juncture. The idea that the Coastal Act controls over the off-highway vehicle enabling legislation is highly, well, let's say it's a slippery slope. And I'll just share a little story with you. I wrote several years ago to our then Attorney General, Kamala Harris, who is now our Vice President. And Kamala Harris responded to my request, and I asked specifically, what's the opinion, the legal opinion about the Coastal Act, and what controls over the enabling legislation of the off-highway vehicle. And her response was, we're all represented by the same attorneys. And so it's unlikely that the state can sue the state. And so again, I think you'll find that at the political level in Sacramento, that this kind of legal analysis is really going to fall short, and that the politics will prevail. And so I think that needs to be the focus, and understand the politics of this. And the OHV folks are not going away, not today, not tomorrow, and not in the foreseeable future.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
For your comments.
Thank you, Jeff.
Thank you, Jeff, for your comments.
Anybody else with public comment? Being none. Is that all we want to discuss? I think we've discussed it all.
Yeah, no kidding.
So what comes next?
Well, being that we have the motion, we discussed it all, and we know what we want to put in the letter, we need to figure out who's going to write the letter.
Whoa,
So-
whoa, 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 wait a
Wait a
minute.
minute. He
No,
just,
wait, I want to make a motion
yeah,
on the
supporting the,
Stanford research,
The motion is
Stanford
amendment.
law
Okay, that's
letter.
right. We haven't approved it. Jumping the gun.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So I appreciate Mr. Edwards' perspective. I would still like us to go on the record as expressing support, not, how do I put this? That
Did it be considered in making their decision?
yes, that the Coastal Commission, thank you for that. That's a good, that got me unblocked here. Yes, that the OAC refers the Coastal Commission to the Stanford research memorandum, which reviews the applicable regulations and case law relevant to the ODSVRA, and give it serious consideration in their deliberations.
I would second that. I will second that.
Who is that? Who is talking?
April.
April. But excuse me, Charles, would this be a different motion from the one that we just made?
Yes.
Oh, so okay. So it would be a different letter, or it would be something that we write on, well, maybe we can decide that later.
Well, it would be in the same letter.
Okay.
We got a second from April.
So that opens it up for discussion. And I would like to say that I still stick with the OAC's lane is within the jurisdiction of Oceano itself, but I have no problem attaching my vote to ask that the agency take everything provided, including this, into consideration when making decisions.
Yeah, I like that.
Thank you. So we have a first and a second, and shall we do roll call now?
Is there any further discussion?
I'm
I
done.
don't think so.
Okay. We're ready.
Charles,
Yes.
Lucia Casanova,
Yes.
April Dury,
Yes, ma'am.
Eileen Villa, of
What
course.
say you?
A
Yes.
strong yes. Yes, they put a lot of work into this, and it needs to be looked at. They did all this, volunteer. And I disagree that I think that it's biased, that they did their best that they could to look up case law that supported the review. So I think that they did a great job looking at it.
Well, I would definitely support Mr. Edwards 100% that the OHV people are not going away, and it's.
And they have their attorneys, and they're probably gonna,
Oh yeah.
Don't go away.
all up, but they did a great job on researching it, and it's supported by case law, California case law.
Mhm.
So it needs to be looked at. Then they could decide to do whatever they think is best,
Okay.
following the law.
We're having the discussion after we voted on it. We voted, it's done.
Right. So in terms of then, Madam Chair, you were asking about the next steps. I'm willing to, we need to get this letter in the mail by 5 o'clock tomorrow. I've taken the notes here. I'm happy to write up a draft and send it out by 9 a.m. tomorrow morning to all of you.
Great.
And then and I would like, is there any reason that any of you cannot respond back by noon tomorrow?
No.
I have a mid-morning probably for an hour, but I will be done by 11. So there's no reason I couldn't
Right.
respond.
I'll have this to you by 7 a.m. tomorrow morning.
Great.
Yes, and
You can have it with your coffee.
that's perfect.
Just don't dunk it.
Nope,
Okay.
at a local coffee shop.
Quintessa,
And once
the
it's,
best coffee in the county,
It
in
is,
Oceano.
it is good.
once it is approved, it will be sent out immediately.
Hey,
By 5 o'clock. Yes.
Oh, before that,
Oh, I know, but isn't that the deadline?
yes.
Yeah.
By 4:58 at the latest.
Getting it. Well, thank you so much, Charles, for taking the initiative. You're a great writer. Between you, Lucia, we are just so blessed
why?
as a counselor, because you can both of you are great writers.
Oh, Charles is better, but yeah, we like to write. I guess Charles does. I enjoy it.
I very much want to thank the people who participated from the public. It's so rare, and it's clear that people participate when the subject really matters to them. So I take it to heart that this subject very much matters, whatever side you're on. And if we can discuss and not rally against each other as our first step, but work together as our first step, I think we'd get a little farther. And if we understand where the other side's coming from, it doesn't always happen. But thank you to the public, Steve and Marios and the chamber and the various people that spoke up. Thank you for doing that.
Truly.
I second that. Steve, that we don't have a chat function that at least I can see. I don't know why. Maybe it's because I'm a host. I don't see the chat. But
Neither.
my email is charles@varney.org. So you can get hold of me there, or just look for the wanted poster in the post office.
Not the house.
Oceano. Yeah, I'd love to talk with you, Mario. Remember, we have openings on the advisory council, and we're not looking to replicate ourselves. We want a diversity of opinions.
Yeah.
And we need, be great to have representatives from the business community. We're looking for many more Latino members of our community to join. Everybody's voice counts equally here.
And I want to also thank everyone that participated, and especially the business community. It was nice to have you participate in our meetings. We usually don't have many people participate. And as was said, when people are interested, they will participate when it's something that they're dear to their heart. And I know as a business person, of your business is dear to your heart. We want to state that I'm very pro-business, just have a little different way of seeing our beach. And by talking to each other and seeing our points of view, maybe we can get a little further, as was stated. I want to thank everyone. Even Fernanda, I think, is gone. Is she still here?
She couldn't be here she can only be here for 45 minutes, but
Okay.
yes.
So hopefully she didn't get scared away. We do need more diversity, more Latinos. Latinos are 60% of our town, and should be reflected everywhere in our town. We have to practice inclusivity, not just state it. So thank you all for coming.
I was able to get my name in the chat. So if you click on chat, you'll see my email address.
For the rest of us, it says chat disabled, or it does for me at least.
It does for me also.
Okay. I'll see about correcting that for the next meeting.
I got it.
We're learning.
I
Thank you.
can see Charles's email. I just can't add to it.
Oh,
Okay,
okay.
I'll have to check the settings.
For any concerns also, and anything that you would like to ask, or if you just want to be part of our council, you could reach us at our, by our website
Oh,
and
that's
through
sure.
email. We're redoing our website, so soon we're gonna have a really nice website, but it still functions, and then we are Oceano Advisory Council.org on the web, and Oceano Advisory Council@gmail.com.
All right. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good night.
Good night.
Night.